The Sun Belt tourney tips off. We got postseason awards, and we got huge midweek matchups. Let's talk about it next. Bonus edition of Locked On Sun Belt.
You are Locked On Sun Belt, your daily podcast on the Sun Belt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sun Belt, your team every day. Table's moving. Let's start not touching the table. All right, we are leaving. Baton Rouge will be in Louisville later tonight, but we wanted to get this in before the Sun Belt tipped off today. Didn't really preview the two ball games that are going on. We got postseason awards, and again, just huge midweek matchups that are not as one-sided as you think, as it turns out. All right, so today you do have the Cajuns taking on Georgia State. That's 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and then ODU and ULM. ULM's only conference victory against ODU. ODU is an 11.5-point favorite, and Georgia State is a 1.5-point favorite. Turns out, sources tell me, and that may or may not be Kevin Foote, that Dorian Finister is expected to play for the Cajuns. Had a concussion a couple of games ago, and he is expected to play. We'll see. All right. These two, Georgia State has just, the bottom fell out of it after starting the Sun Belt 6-3, but they always battle. They always just come up short. A lot can be said for the Cajuns. They did have a nice run in the middle of the season to avoid having their fewest wins in program history at 7. Would have matched that mark, but they've just been banged up all year long. All right, I'll go all homer and take the Cajuns in this one. Jonas Hayes may be on his last leg over at Georgia State. As for Quantus White, and you could say the same thing about Jonas Hayes, he just can't get him, forget about over the hump, to the hump. All right, but they always play hard. Just can't finish down the stretch. Cajuns just have been banged up. You guys know I'm a much more of a reasons guy than excuses guy, but they didn't lose 1 or 2 guys. They lost like 4 or 5 guys. And, that's obviously going to make a big difference. They're tough defensively, and if they hit some shots, they're very difficult to beat. So I will say I don't think either one of these two teams is going to win another ball game in the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. The winner of this game is probably going to lose their next ball game. All right. But we'll see. Good experience for Quantus White to be a head coach in a conference tournament. Quick turnaround since Friday. And we'll see what happens with Georgia State, their head coaching situation. All right. As far as Old Dominion, former player Mike Jones has not had that program in the right direction in a couple of years. Another one of those teams that you just have some interesting and impressive wins, and yet they do lose to ULM. Not only did they lose to ULM, they lost to them at home. Again, they're tough because they have explosive offense, but it's not they just can't finish either. Whatever it is at the end of the games, they have difficulty finishing. So we'll see how that goes. And a lot can be said what we say about Georgia State and the Cajuns. Same thing for ULM. I mean, they're obviously not a particularly good basketball team, but some of these games are, they were pretty close. They got blown out by South Alabama and Troy. That Troy ball game was close for a minute. Well, for more than a minute. It was 44-43 before Troy went on for an 80-65 victory. They lost to Arkansas State 102-94. Troy needed a minor miracle to hold them off 77-76. Texas State beat them 95-84. Ball State beat them 73-68, right? They beat Old Dominion 85-79. Lost to Coastal by 4. Lost to Georgia Southern by 3. They did get blown out by Marshall and Arkansas State one time. So there is that possibility of getting blown out. But they tend to play tough. All right. So we'll see what happens. Christian Lewis has been very good for ULM this season. And again, it takes a certain kind of moxie to, when you've won 1 game in 17 in the conference, and they even lost the MAC challenge in the middle of all that, to come out and play hard and try and play spoiler. They almost did it to Troy. No real spoiler here. You're trying to win a conference championship and, a couple of conference ball games. Again, I think ODU would have the best shot at moving on, we'll look at the bracket here in a second just to make sure I agree with myself, only because they just seem to be, for lack of a better term, schizophrenic. I'm just not sure. I'm really just not sure what to expect from ODU on a regular basis. See, they get Georgia Southern, so ODU can absolutely beat Georgia Southern next. All right, whereas Georgia State or the Cajuns is getting James Madison. I don't think they're going to win that ball game. So I think James Madison will advance, and I think, well, again, the Old Dominion Georgia Southern matchup could be up for grabs. Let's see what those two teams did this year, just to see. Old Dominion lost to Georgia Southern 87-84 and lost to them 93-86. So Georgia Southern's beaten them twice so far, but in both times close ball games. So we shall see how that goes. And again, James Madison is going to win and beat the Cajuns or Georgia State, whereas even ULM has a shot at Georgia Southern. So although Georgia Southern did put on that drubbing on Marshall, that was surprising. I'm surprised they did it twice this year. Okay, let's take a timeout. We're going to flip to the postseason awards. Scott Cross got Coach of the Year. We got Chase Harris getting Player of the Year, and we'll go over the first and second and maybe third teams as well. We will do that right after I tell you about Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action, so when the momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play-by-play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S., download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swamp firm. All right. Dave Schultz locked on your teams every day. Let's see if the airlines is delayed. Nope, we're still on time. Okay. All right. So Sunbelt postseason awards. Oh, I want to go back one thing. I meant to do this about the Sunbelt tourney and how the broadcasters are on, not on site. They're in New Orleans because they want to take advantage of that studio that they have. Then why don't they take full advantage of it? Why do they go to break? Why not have like a 30-minute intro and then just stay there in between ball games? So what if it's 30 or 40 minutes? There's not a shortage of things to talk about. If you just want to talk about basketball, you can keep on previewing each team in each game. It's not that difficult. If you want to include baseball, you can do that as well. There's no reason to go to, and this event hasn't started yet, screen, when you have a potential Sunbelt audience. So another missed opportunity. Would you have to pay somebody? Sure. Do you got to put them up for a week? Of course. But that would have plenty of people interested in hosting the Sunbelt Conference tournament. I don't know why they don't do that. So it seems to be, I would think the benefits would far outweigh the costs, all right, to do that. I don't know why they would not do that. So that's just an idea that it should be for the basketball tournament, softball tournament, and baseball tournament. Don't go away. You have a captive audience. Keep them. Very, very strange. All right. Now on to the postseason awards. All right. To nobody's surprise, Scott Cross from Troy is your coach of the year. Again, still not really understood what happened towards the end. I know Theo Singh got hurt. It was pointed out by a faithful listener, despite what he likes to claim, that they really haven't beaten anybody as of late. They had a easy schedule outside of South Alabama, and they lost to South Alabama, right? They played the Cajuns once and ULM twice, and they apparently got past ULM the first time. So haven't really heard his name connected with any other jobs. I try to keep on pumping him up for Syracuse. There may be another former Sunbelt coach who may be in line from that, who is from that region, Brian Hodgson. So we'll see what happens there. But really well deserved by Scott Cross to be into that. And as Matt Stewart had mentioned, someone else should have gotten it as well. Coach of Coastal Carolina should have gotten it. Justin Gray, turning that program around, right? They're the 3 seed, right? I'm not sure anybody saw that coming a couple of weeks ago, and they're in pretty good shape. Let's see how they finished the season up. There was one tough loss in there, but they lost to James Madison by 2. Otherwise, they won 5 out of their last 6. They had a tough loss to South Alabama, losing 53-48. They lost to Arkansas State, and they lost to James Madison. The only issues with 2 of those losses, the JMU loss and the Arkansas State loss, it was at home. That's the only issue. All right. Losing at South Alabama, no shame to that. That defense is tough. It can be very tough. 53-48. So, and these other losses, they lost to JMU 67-65, Arkansas State by 4, and lost to South Alabama by 5. So, those are their last 3 losses. How many overall? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I mean, they're 11-3 in their last 14 ball games. That's impressive. So Justin Gray has done a fantastic job. As for the player awards, all right, you did have Chase Harris as the player of the year from South Alabama. Newcomer of the year was Joshua Beadle, who's been very good for the aforementioned Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. Beats JMU at the end. Let's see what else we got. We have the defensive player of the year is Luke Wilson from App State. Freshman of the year, DJ Hall. And you got the 6th man of the year, Joey Chamama. I'm not sure if that's how you say his name. Chama, maybe just Chama. I added an extra A in there, right? Just Joey Chama from Arkansas State. I think all those guys are very much so well-deserving, all right? Let's do the Sunbelt All-First team. Beadle got it from Coastal Carolina, Thomas Dowd from Troy, Wyatt Fricks from Marshall, Chase Harris from South Alabama, and Talik Weeks from Southern Miss. I mean, Weeks and Chase Harris were going at it for that scoring title. South Alabama just had a little bit better of a season than Southern Miss did. Not that much better, but just a little bit better. And that's why maybe Chase Harris got it. And plus I don't know if you saw that article, he leads the nation at percentage of his points at the rim. That's amazing. All Sunbelt second team, DJ Hall from Texas State, Jelani Hamilton from Georgia State, Kason Jennings from App State, Adam Olson from South Alabama. He's really one of the keys to this whole tournament. If Adam Olson goes off and is scoring 20 points, South Alabama's tough. Is tough to beat. But it can't just be free throws. He can't go 3 for 10 and just get a bunch of free throws and make 20 points. He's got to shoot it around that 45-50% mark. He really does. And then you get Jaden Cooper. That's what happens if Adam Olson isn't shooting it. Then you can fall off and do Jaden Cooper, and you just let Chase Harris go to the bucket because he's only getting 2 points. And remember, if it's Arkansas State against South Alabama or Arkansas State's going to attempt 43 pointers. Right? It's going to be a tough matchup. So we'll see how that goes. But South Alabama is going to need to count on Adam Olson to have a big tournament if they are going to make a run. All right, elsewhere. Let's see here. Second. And Jalen Spear from Marshall. Could say the same thing for Marshall. That Jalen Spear is going to, and then the thing is, he shoots it from anywhere, crosses half court. He may not even have to cross half court to shoot it. He does. He's got no conscience. He can shoot it from the top of the key, or he can shoot it about 5 steps back towards the logo. So Jalen Spear could be big in this tournament as well, as Marshall is the second seed. All right. Cliff Davis from JMU is all Sunbelt third team. Alonzo Dodd at App State. Christian Harmon from Arkansas State, Justin McBride from JMU, and Victor Valdez from Troy. Victor Valdez is kind of one of those, point forward type of deals. Shoots it, half a dozen times or so, but is going to rebound and is going to give you assists. So those are the teams. I don't think there's any surprises. Let me know what you guys think. But I think in this case, the Sun Belt did get it right, or the people voting. I did not vote. I didn't have a vote, but that was pretty much. I think everybody got it right. All right, you can make a case for Justin Gray, certainly, but Troy won it, and it does go to Scott Cross. All right, just like I think it went to Richie Riley last year because they were the number 1 seed, although there was that 4-way tie at the end. All right, we got huge midweek baseball games coming up today and then tomorrow, and let's talk about it next, right after I tell you about Indeed and FanDuel. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs help you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. Since I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast, Locked on Sunbelt. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And FanDuel. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night, from early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts. There's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any hoops parlay you want. Rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits your need. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out. Then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked on Sunbelt, your teams every day. Got a few more minutes here before we start boarding, heading back to Louisville, going to Charlotte. Got a layover there, probably where I'm going to finish posting this. And then we get to Louisville, which I may be thankful I'm missing the Syracuse game. That's a tip-off at 9 o'clock Eastern time. We land just after 9 o'clock. Oh, darn, I can't sit through. It's going to be a brutal basketball game. All right, meanwhile, baseball. And we got some huge matchups. I mean, Southern Miss and Mississippi State are playing tonight. You got LSU over at the Cajuns hosting LSU. And these are different for different reasons, okay, than in years past. All right, and probably still will be for this year. We'll see what the Cajuns can do. But normally these midweek ball games and I mentioned this during the season or during the previews with all those coaches, right? They're not necessarily as big for them outside of playing other players that don't get to play on the weekends. We got to see what they can do. Some did not play very well last night for LSU. That's the way that it is. Because LSU is always going to have those SEC teams. Mississippi State, same thing. They're going to have those SEC teams. So the RPIs are going to be high regardless. But look where Southern Miss's RPI is. They're winning, but because of the teams they've played, they're way up there, right? Coastal Carolina's got a lot of wins, or I'm not Arkansas State, but they're not in the top 20 yet because of the teams they've played, all right? So it's a big opportunity for, and we'll get to more games here for Southern Miss and the Cajuns. The thing is, it may not hurt LSU or Mississippi State, because if Mississippi State finishes 7th in the RPI, That's not going to hurt Mississippi State. That's not a thing. Cajuns are 14th, I think. Last time I checked, we'll check here in a minute. So it's not going to hurt LSU if they lose to the Cajuns. Let's see where the Cajuns are 14th as of this broadcast. So that's not going to hurt anything either. But let's not change the fact that it's a big opportunity. These are home games, right? Usually you go to the SEC team, but these coaches do a good job. Jay Johnson's done a good job going around the state. I think Skip Bertman started it. Paul Maneri picked it up and just does a good job. They know that LSU is the flagship in this case, and they got plenty of fans all over the place. But it's a great recruiting thing for them as well, and it's also getting them ready in this case. A lot of new guys. They're going to be playing in front of a packed house. It's going to be hostile. There'll be plenty of LSU fans there, but it's a good chance to play on the road before they hit SEC play. So it's a great opportunity though for the Cajuns and Southern Miss. But we have many more games than just those two. All right. So tonight or today, let's see if it is tonight or today. All right. So today, in fact, first pitch is at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Coastal Carolina is at NC State. NC State is highly ranked, right? Where's NC State? I thought NC State was highly ranked. Didn't they just put up 90 runs? Did I see that? Oh, I don't see that. Oh. I thought they don't have a high RPI right now. I thought they were pretty good, though. Okay. Still, this is a road game to go play against a Power 4 school. That is big. And see if Coastal Carolina can sort of rinse out what happened this past weekend. George Mason, James Madison hosting George Mason. Marshall is at Virginia Tech. That's an afternoon ball game. All right. Georgia State has already beaten Georgia Tech once. Now they get them again. Can they win another ball game? I mean, that would be huge for the Panthers. Let's see where the Panthers are. So I know that Northeastern moved up like 64 spots after last night's win. Let's just see where Georgia State is heading into the ball game. And can you imagine if they sweep Georgia Tech? They're sitting at 91. They'll be top 50 if they take down Georgia Tech again. That's awesome. All right, let's see what else we got here. ULM hosting Southeastern. They've won 6 in a row, so the Warhawks looking to continue that. We talked about Southern Miss and Mississippi State. Arkansas State is at La Tech. La Tech is pissed. Not only did they get beat, but somewhat embarrassed by Southern Miss. We're going to find out a little bit what La Tech is about, but we're also going to find out Arkansas State. It's 2 ball games, and if Arkansas State can go into Ruston and take down the Bulldogs or even split, it's a good spot for Arkansas State. All right, South Alabama is in Montgomery playing UAB. All right, Wednesday, you get App State hosting Wake Forest. Troy is at Vanderbilt, right? Cajuns hosting LSU. Southern Miss hosting Nichols. And again, you got Arkansas State at Louisiana Tech. You have an odd Thursday, Friday, Saturday deal with, Troy. I guess Troy's playing in a tournament. So Troy gets Texas State. I'm not looking wrong. Texas State is playing Washington State on Thursday. Is that a series? Let's see here. It is a series. Maybe that could be a Washington State thing. Yeah, so they're playing a series. All right. And we'll get to the weekend later on. But again, just huge opportunities for the Sun Belt, and yet it may not hurt the SEC teams at all even if the Cajuns finish in a top 20 RPI. It doesn't hurt you, right? That's the good thing here. A big picture. Are Southern Miss fans going to be pumped? They should be. Cajun fans going to be pumped? Should be. I did see not a whole lot of sales from Southern Miss fans. I did see one prominent Cajuns fan selling his tickets, but maybe you can't make it. And at the same time, can you pay for your entire season ticket package? Selling what his tickets were. I don't know how much tickets are, but he was getting a pretty good coin for one ball game. Can't blame somebody I can go to every other home game except this one and recoup what I paid, maybe more for all I know. I don't know how much it costs. So I did see that post out there on social media. So we'll see if the Sun Belt can take advantage of, again, they finished off some weekend series with some sweeps. It wasn't good for others, but it's just a huge opportunity. And again, that was, this past week, 2 weeks, I think, where the midweek was huge for the Sun Belt, and the baseball started to notice that, right? And so we'll see how it goes today and tomorrow, because there's a big time opportunity. As far as like LSU is concerned, or the Cajuns are concerned with LSU, LSU's not hitting. They did come around last night against the way back end of the Northeastern bullpen, who couldn't throw strikes all of a sudden when they're up by 11, with a chance to close it off. So we'll see if the bats come around for LSU, because basically LSU fans knew it was over when it was, if it wasn't over at 4-0, it was certainly over at 10-0. All right. Although more than a few LSU fans did stick around. I will say that. I wasn't planning on sticking around for all 4 hours, because the game should have been over at 9:30 instead of 10:30. But always good to catch up with my guy Mike Lavin. All right, so that's pretty good. Maybe this can get him going. And as I mentioned on the morning quick video, Northeastern was 0-5 before they showed up in Baton Rouge. I showed up in Baton Rouge and they won 3 out of 4. Just saying. I mean, those are just the facts. Just putting it out there. All right. All right. So looking forward to basketball. We'll have a full episode for basketball and baseball on Wednesday. I'm not working, as it turns out, so we'll keep that going, and of course we'll have the basketball and baseball throughout the week. So really do appreciate it. We're starting over that 2,900 of subscribers, so I'm looking forward to getting to 3,000 maybe by the end of baseball season. All right, maybe we'll get it by the end of baseball season. We'll see how we do. All right, again, thanks so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. We will catch you tomorrow in Louisville. Thank you again. You've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Have a great one, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon.